Let's do this. Hi everybody, welcome back. I am M. DePriest and I am a secondary English education major at Emporia State University. And this is my channel where I will be discussing what it's like to become a teacher. It's been kind of a crazy ride for the last few weeks. Busy, as you can tell by the fact that I did not put out a video for about a month. Sorry about that, but I'm here again and will be doing my best to keep up on it. Since we're just getting back in the classroom, there's really not a whole lot going on. There's not a whole lot to discuss, so I thought I'd do a quick reflection on what this semester has brought so far and what we're going to look forward to with the rest of the semester. So as you guys might know, obviously had the first few weeks of class on campus at Emporia State and then did the first rotation of the STEP internship. So the first STEP rotation that I did was in the high school, which was a fantastic experience. I really enjoyed it, got to know the kids on a personal level, became very close with my mentor teacher, shout out to Miss Kelma, and really just learned quite a bit about what it's like to be a teacher in the classroom. I thought I'd sort of figured it out when I was subbing specifically because, you know, you look at the lessons, you see what the kids are doing, you ask them questions, but it's really not the same. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes into being a teacher, creating lessons, writing the curriculum, just regular stuff. It's sort of funny that, you know, you see a lot of the reflections of like regular life in a classroom with the teachers, with the students, and it's really just great to see how the kids grow over time. Even in such a short time, I was only there for a month, and I saw such fantastic things come out of the students that I was just like, I was very impressed. I felt kind of nervous about where the students were at, mostly because I couldn't remember what I had learned when I was in high school. Granted, that was 12 years ago. And of course, these are all things that I learned, obviously, that are just like locked away in my brain. I don't remember the process of learning personal narrative or characterization or irony or any of those things. Those are things that are just like there, which is kind of wild to me. As usual, probably could definitely use a refresher on those things when I go to teach them. But other than that, like, it was kind of fun just to see where everybody is. It was a fantastic time. I think I got really lucky with my first mentor teacher because we already knew each other before. We were kind of friends before. And it was really, it felt like I was talking to a peer versus somebody who was like above me. Granted, she is above me, even though I'm older than her. But anyway, a lot of ups and downs for teaching that last month of the STEP program. There was a lockdown, like I mentioned in my week with me. There was everything that went on at Emporia State, which I will still not get into because I don't think I can without being mean about it, so I'm just not going to touch it right now. We made a few, not disciplinary calls, but calls to check in with kids' parents about where they were academically. It really relieved me to see that it doesn't have to be scary all the time, right? Like, there are a lot of things that I'm nervous about when it comes to becoming a teacher, and one of them is interacting with parents, because parents obviously want to protect their kids. They want their kids to be learning, and sometimes that means that the teacher is not doing enough to teach their student. Obviously, that was not the case in this situation. The parents were both very accommodating and they understood where the teacher was coming from. So that was great. I got to grade a few papers, which is something that my mentor teacher mentioned that she didn't get a whole lot of experience with when she was student teaching. When she came into the teaching world, she felt a little underprepared for it. And so I was glad to have that experience. These were papers that I had already basically read because of the students that I was working with. And I got to finally utilize these pens that I insisted upon buying. I was like, I have to own them. And so one positive thing is that when I go into my own classroom, I'm going to have plenty of pens for grading. Will not be putting that on any wish list that I create. So anyway, it was kind of a bittersweet goodbye because obviously I'm excited to go to the middle school, but I was really sad about leaving the kids. I don't know. I was sad about leaving the kids and my mentor teacher because it was just a lot of fun. And I think it was a great first experience in the classroom, which makes me a little nervous about what's going to end up in the middle school. So, you know, not a whole lot of craziness going on with my other classes. It was mostly learning about the ins and outs of teaching. For ed psychology, it's teaching about It's learning about things like how to create tests. Classroom management, we all went over the different rules, and I really started to contemplate what kind of things I would do in my own classroom. These are things that I already did an assignment for, but then it's really made me consider just kind of like what is and isn't important. One thing that I found really interesting about it is just how much, there were several times where I would be like sitting in the classroom and the kids would be talking, not loudly, just like whispering to each other, and I would be uncomfortable because they were supposed to be working on stuff. But the thing is that they were working on things. It really did make me reconsider what I would consider not working, because those kids were getting stuff done and there was no reason for me to even consider that they weren't. It really opened my eyes to the different ways that you can learn effectively. And something that obviously I didn't think about, because if we're being 100% honest, I'm of a different generation than a majority of my peers. And that's horrific to think about. But it's mostly just that teachers are probably a little bit more relaxed now. And they weren't when I was a kid. So that was kind of what the STEP internship was about. And it was fantastic. And I'm really excited to see what happens next. So then these next few weeks are, get out my handy dandy planner. I did not utilize this as much as I was hoping over the course of the STEP internship. However, we'll definitely be utilizing it a lot better this time around. We are rapidly approaching the end of the semester, which is horrifying. Like, look at how much is left there. Like, not a whole lot. And I have already purchased a new planner for the school year, for the next year. Jeez Louise, it sounds so ridiculous. I talked briefly about it in my other video. So I went ahead and a few months ago, I bought a teacher's planner, like a blank teacher planner, the Happy Planner specifically, because I just really I don't know why I like the Happy Planners better than like the Erin Condren. I feel like there's more flavor maybe. I also really love the layouts. The only thing that I don't like about the teacher planners is that there's no weekends. I'd kind of like to use my planner for everything. I have heard from another teacher who does planning specifically, like on her YouTube, Tattoo Teacher Plans. Love her content. Have been overwatching her content because I just, first off, love planner decoration. I'm not sure if anybody else is like that. My mom was a scrapbooker, so it's kind of like, it's one of those things. So I've been watching a lot of her stuff, but she mentioned, I think, that the Happy Planners are specifically more geared towards elementary school teachers. I'm like, well, do elementary school teachers not have weekends? That's weird. But so I bought a blank Happy Teacher Planner because I loved the cover. I loved the things on the inside, like the month covers. And I wanted to get a jump on it. I wanted to get the thing that I liked so that in a few months I'm not like, I wish that they had the things that I like instead of this ugly planner. You know, it's such a silly thing. And I've heard that some teachers don't even utilize their planners, which I do not want to be that person because I am terrified that I'm going to lose track of what we're supposed to be doing. Obviously, there's a lot of like what ifs that go into putting in planning. Like, you can't be like, oh, well, I have to do this on Thursday or we won't get it done. Because like, what if you're doing a lecture Tuesday, Wednesday, and it drags over or something like that, you know? So planning is relative. Anyways, I don't have it with me to show you guys because I went ahead and bought an extension, a blank extension of months. It was only it was a 6-month extension to put in the front so that I could keep track of my student teaching as well, because obviously I don't need to buy a 6-month planner and then a 12-month planner. That's just silly. So now it's an 18-month planner. I started it in January. Since it's all undated, I was able to take the extra pages out of the months and go ahead and add in like July of 2023. So I have basically all of 2023 all the way up until July of 2024, which just feels surreal. It feels surreal. I was talking to some of my colleagues, and that's what I've been calling them lately, is colleagues, because I don't know. Because that's what they are. You know, these are people that we're going to be working alongside. I've mentioned this 1,000 times, and I'm so sorry. Like, these are people who I'm rooting on. I want them to succeed because I want to succeed too. And so I was talking to some of them, and one of my friends, Wesley, he was saying, you know, it feels super real. Like, it's like closing in almost. Like, you know, we were just talking about like how it's almost here, and being in the classrooms is like so frightening and exciting. More on that later, I guess. So I made it basically an 18-month planner so that I can keep track all the way up through July of 24. I do not have the planner with me right now. I gave it to my mom because when I was a kid in middle school and high school, my mom would take my planner and she would write like little tidbits in them. She would write fun facts about the holidays or people whose birthdays were coming up. She would just write little quips about things. Around Christmas time, she says Christmas movie watching season, stuff like that. So my mom has, obviously both of my parents have been like huge supporters of me through this whole process, because it has been stressful for me, which means it's stressful for them because I make it everybody's problem. I did kind of bully her into it. I was like, I would really love it if you would do that thing that you used to do with my planners, because I don't know, it'd be like a fun little, check-in every now and then just to see what kind of fun stuff she thinks is worth thinking about. So my mom has my planner right now, but when I get it back, I will show it off, and I also will do a teacher planner setup. Obviously, can't do a teacher planner setup if I don't have a job, so keep us in your thoughts and prayers. I was getting nervous. I was talking to my mentor teacher about it, and I said, there's nothing. There's nothing online. There are no English teaching jobs, middle school or high school, anywhere on the eastern part of Kansas, like within reason, you know what I mean? And she said, don't ever fret about that. Most teachers and their teaching positions will go up in April, because that's when teachers start to put in their 2 weeks, when they start to resign or look for other jobs in better locations, etc. So I'm not gonna get nervous yet. I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna wait and see what is available. But obviously I will not be filling out any of those things basically from June on, to be safe, maybe July on, because I will still have my regular job on top of that. But then I should be getting, obviously haven't gotten my student teaching placement yet, because that would have been a top tier news. I would have immediately told you all about it. Once I get those placements, those will be the things that I put in my planner. I will not be naming the schools that I put for my student teaching choices, because I feel like that's a little bit too much, maybe. Will definitely say that I got a job in Northeast Kansas, depending on where I end up. But that's something that I'm looking forward to in the next few weeks. Obviously, the deadline for student teaching placements is November 30th. Like I said before, one of my friends didn't get hers until at least after this 12th of December last year. So there is a timeline. It's coming up, and obviously will be like ecstatic when that happens. So that's kind of where that's been going. Things that are coming up. Obviously, the middle school placement. I do believe I've already been placed for my middle school placement. I'd have to double check. That will be 100% confirmed, obviously, in the next few weeks. In the next few weeks in regular class, we're going to be doing some trauma-informed care, trauma-informed education stuff. Dr. Persinger, kind of an expert is the best way to put it. He's an expert on trauma-informed education. He has the tools to teach us how to essentially recover after a traumatic event. He is obviously fantastic at this. He's been called in when there have been school shootings or tornadoes that hit cities. He offers teachers, administrations, students the tools to, I'm not going to say overcome. And I think that's really great. I'm very excited about that. We have these things called daily sessions coming up. Have no idea what that entails. So that's something I'll have to talk about at a later date. My methods class has started studying for the praxis. That's something we're going to be working on for the next few months, because that's a horrifically scary test. And it's something that obviously you have to pass to teach. So that's something that we're preparing for in a small way. Another thing that we're doing, this is specifically for the methods class, is I will be writing an entire unit. It'll be the final project for the methods class. So essentially we had to choose a novel or a collection of something, or blah, 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 or poem or play or something, and create a unit over it. I was really unsure of what I wanted to do. I kept jumping between doing something from Shakespeare or a novel that I really like, or one that I've never read. I decided to do something I've never read before, and I chose The Crucible. I'm going to write a unit over The Crucible. I did not know it was a play, which says a lot about me. But I am so excited about it. I have not started this officially, but The Crucible is essentially, so The Crucible came out in 1953. It was written by Arthur Miller, who wrote it essentially about the Red Scare and Joseph McCarthy's hunt for communists in the United States. But instead of being set in 1953 Red Scare America, it is set in the 17th century Salem, Massachusetts. It's about the Salem witch trials as a reflection of the Red Scare. And I think that sounds fantastic. So I'm very excited to read this, create a unit for it. I was thinking of trying to, in a small way, tie it back to the hunts that we're doing now. It would be a little dangerous, so I'm not 100% sure how I will do it. I was thinking of tying it back kind of to the I would say, the hunt that's going on in the education world for teachers who are teaching critical race theory or trans athletes. I think that those are things that are not 100% the same. Obviously, there's a lot of differences between the subjects, but in the same way that people were randomly being accused of being witches and people were randomly accused of being communists, children are being accused of being trans when they beat other students in sports. And I think that that is an ugly reflection of history. I don't know how I could teach that, so I probably won't. But I might add it as sort of an offside to it, like think of the things that are going on in real life today. One of the things that I'd really love to try to utilize for this is a stations, like a discussion stations. My mentor teacher used it in her, I feel like I'm stealing so many of her ideas. I don't mean to do that. If you're watching this, which I doubt, but please know, I'm not trying to steal all your ideas. I just think that this one would really work. That makes it sound like anyways, they began The House on Mango Street, which is a series of vignettes about a young Latina woman and her life. And so one of the things that Miss Kalma did is she had the students work in table groups. They went around the room and they answered questions about persecution and identity. And I think that that would be a really interesting thing to tie into this, because I did this sort of with a Scarlet Letter lesson. Definitely could have done better on that looking back. It definitely was a unit, not a lesson. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it had all the meat of a unit. I made that lesson about the Scarlet Letter sort of reflect, you know, the things that go on in a modern high school. Rumor mills flying, hurting people beyond repair, sort of thing. And while I have not read this, so I'm not 100% what it is about, I think that it's a very similar concept. So that's something that I'm really excited about. That's thankfully not due until the end of the school year. The examples that were given to us had 300 pages. I don't think that this will be 300 pages worth of unit, but maybe it will. That would be insane to me. So that is something that I'm working on. The Crucible Arthur Miller unit plan, which could obviously be taught probably only on a high school level. Oh, and I'm getting some of my ideas. I'm going to say some because literally I'm not going to be stealing this whole thing. That would be an automatic fail. But anyway, I got this great book from the resource library in Visser Hall. It is the teacher edition of a collection of like lessons for grade 11. The Crucible is in here. So I'm going to be kind of looking to see what sort of things teachers might be teaching for that. It is an exceptional piece for close reading. It says here, why this text? Which is, I think, essential. In addition to providing insight into two important chapters in the United States history, the Salem Witch Trials and the Red Scare, The Crucible exemplifies the masterful use of the elements of drama by one of our greatest playwrights. So then it goes on, you know, American drama, analyze elements of drama, close read, etc., etc. So those are things that I will be looking into and from this huge book for that unit plan. So that's something else that's been going on. So one thing that we've been doing for the last few weeks for our methods class that I kind of mentioned briefly but did not get into detail with was our short story lessons. Each of us were doing a 50-minute lesson over a short story. Like I mentioned prior to this, I did A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. Other such short stories that we're doing are Cathedral by Raymond Carver. We did Hills Like White Elephants. We are doing The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Really excited about that. Doing A Rose for Emily, and I think Cask of Amontillado. There's one more, but I can't remember which one it is. Anyway, this has been one of the greatest purchases I've ever made. It was required reading, I should mention that. But I bought it right out so that I could use it later in my own classroom. I've been annotating everything that we're reading so that I can kind of, you know, utilize the discussions. Other than that, it's been kind of a quiet time. We just had fall break, which is insane. And that means that the next big break is Thanksgiving. Halloween is quickly approaching. Thanksgiving's quickly approaching. Christmas is quickly approaching. Everything is cramming together. And it is absolutely insane to me. Obviously, I'm elated to be here. I'm so excited to see what the rest of the semester brings. And I'm going to bring you guys along with me. I am obviously going to bring you along for I will do another week in my life when I get into the middle school. I'll be a little better about that, actually. I'll be talking about the lesson that I'm going to be doing for that, as well as other things that I'm doing and creating. And yeah, I'm really excited about the things that are coming, that are happening. I'm so excited about the prospect of being a teacher. It's going to be fantastic. If you got all the way through this video, I really appreciate it. And if you want to like and subscribe, please do. I will be documenting everything that's going on in my classes, all the way up through student teaching to when I get my own classroom. And I want to take you along for the ride. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.